Okay. On your packet, I can tell you that, again, at the beginning of class, you saw this. And you're going to see this every time you get a new packet. This is your learning goal or your objective of the day. Use variables to represent quantities in real-world or mathematical problems. Construct simple equations to solve problems by reasoning about quantities. You should always, at the beginning, try to remember to rate yourself according to our rubric. Are you at a 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4? How many people feel like they're at a 0 this morning? Okay, how many a 1 before the lesson? 2, 3, a 4. Okay. We should always try to rate ourselves during the course of the day to see if we're making gains. Okay, question?
We only do 16 and 17.
This is page 16 through 17.
That's why I don't like to put it up there at the beginning of classes, because some people then try to do what first?
Do it.
Some people try to do homework first. Listen, the packet has an example worked out. And I could have put that example up here on the board, and I could have stepped through it step by step, but they already did that. Can you read?
No.
Yes?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Wouldn't it make more sense if I worked out an additional problem, one piece at a time, than it would be to work out a problem that they already gave you?
Yes.
Which is what I choose to do. So you're going to see down at the bottom of that first page where it says your turn, these 3 problems, don't you?
Yes.
I'm going to work these 3 out, and I'm going to tell you they're really simple today. They really are. They're very easy to work through. But I want you to get in the habit of showing the step, because no matter how easy they are, they're going to get what?
Harder.
They're going to get harder. If you get in the habit of showing your work now, as they get more complicated, you'll be used to showing your work. Everybody get that?
Yeah.
So it's important to me that we show the steps of what we're doing. Remember that if they're asking you to use an inverse operation, they're asking you to do the opposite of what's happening. The whole goal is to get the variable by itself. What's the opposite then of adding 4.9?
Negative 4.9.
Subtracting 4.9, or negative 4.9. And we'd write that down on both sides. What's going to happen to the 4.9s on the left?
Go out.
They're going to cancel out, leaving only what? The z. Right? Be careful putting these together. Although I can let you use a calculator for some things, we shouldn't need a calculator for this. When I put a negative 9 and a negative 4.9 together, what should it give me? Negative 13.9. Remember, the signs are the same. I'm adding them together. I keep their sign, and I get a larger negative. Everybody good on the first example?
Yep.
Second example, what do I want to get by itself? R. How do I get rid of, then, subtraction? Or what's the inverse of subtraction? Addition. I'm going to add 17.1 then to both sides. Again, on the left, what's going to happen to the 17.1? It's going to cancel out. And again, I would say be careful here. When I put a negative 4.8 and 17.1 together, is my answer going to be positive or negative? Positive. What do I do with the 2 numbers? Subtract them. 17.1 minus 4.8, which would be 12.3. Way off at 15.
Way off today. I am okay. I'm like half asleep here, so.
I am too.
Me too.
I'm full asleep.
Everybody with me on example 2? When you go to do example 3, you're really trying to get this variable by itself. How is this negative 3 attached to the C? It was attached by being what? Multiplied. What's the inverse of multiplication? Division. And you know the answer.
I sure do.
I hope you're right.
I probably am.
What did you get?
Negative 12.
Okay, it is a negative 12.
See?
Because 36 divided by a negative 3 is a negative 12.
Wait. What?
Okay, so if you multiply a negative and a negative, you get a positive. So negative 3 times negative 12 would be...
Because the opposite of multiplication, it was a negative 3 times C. The opposite of multiplication is division. When I divided by the negative 3 canceled out, leaving only what? C, that was the goal. But if I divided one side by a negative 3, I had to divide the other side by negative 3. With me? Okay. Listen, the nice thing about this type of problem is if you're doubting what you've done, you have the ability to check your answer. The biggest mistakes that get made on this problem, believe it or not, is people drop that negative. I don't know why, but it happens all the time. If I check my answer, I can take a negative 3 times a negative 12, because I can replace C with what I found for its answer, and I should see if it's equal to 36. Well, a negative times a negative makes a... So I get 36 equals 36. Is that true or false?
True.
True. So I know that my answer checked. Everybody okay? We understand that we have the ability to check it if it's an algebraic equation.
Oh, I get it now. I know.
Good? We just moved up a level, didn't we?
Yes.
Very good. Everybody got them copied? Am I good? Okay. I want you to turn to the next page and look at number 5 on your turn. I think it's towards the bottom of the page. Okay. I want you to look above it and see if you see their steps and then compare them to my steps. Look at the example that they gave. Are their steps different than what I wrote up on the board? Yes, they are. I really recommend that you write down my steps. I recommend that you write down step 1, define the variable. What are they asking you to find? If you don't know what they're asking you to find, you don't know what the variable is. If they're asking you to find it, it's unknown. That's what makes it a variable. Second step, use the important information to write the equation. That's where they started. What did they miss doing? They said the first step was write the equation. What did they skip? Defining the variable. If you don't know what they're asking you to find, you can't solve the word problem. Period. It's not possible. You have to read it and decide what are they looking for. Define that variable, that unknown. That needs to be first. Then use that information to write the equation. And then use that equation to solve the problem. I bet you did. I'm going to tell you that this is the kind of question that you probably can find an answer without writing an equation. But I want you to get in the habit of writing what? Write an equation. I want you to get in the habit because as problems get more complicated, and they will, if you're in the habit of writing the easy ones, you're going to find that it just becomes second nature to write the more difficult ones. This is an easy problem to do without writing an equation. I know it is. But can we write an equation? What would the variable be?
I would say E because you're trying to find elevation.
Okay. You're trying to find what? Before it descended. I'm actually going to use X, and I'm going to let it representing my start elevation. Obviously, where I began. Okay? So I took the time to write that down. I defined my variable. X was my start elevation. I could have used any letter, right? If X is my start elevation, I'm going to write the X down. That's where I'm going to start. It says an airplane descends 1.5 miles. What does descend mean? Goes down. I'm subtracting. To an elevation of 5.25. So this must now be equal to what? 5.25. I define my variable. I use the important information to write the equation. What's left? Solve it. So I'm going to add 1.5 to both sides. And X is equal to 6.75. And it should be what? Miles.
Probably the easiest problem I've ever solved in the sense that it's like even you can screw up this.
It's not nice, Miles.
35,640 feet.
Yeah.
What?
35,640 feet.
What is that?
That's how many
How
feet in the air
many
it
feet in the air he is?
Have fun with that.
5,280 feet per mile.
Yeah, me and heights don't get along too well.
Everybody okay? Understand what we're doing?
Yes.
That's your assignment.
What?